Okay, well, the building that you're in is part of the original Rocketeer movie set that was partially filmed here at Santa Maria at the airport here in early 90s. We have a collection from Alan Stevenson of Rocketeer movie memorabilia, including a mannequin that he made up and made a clone copy of the Rocketeer's costume for the movie Rocketeer. Then we have above that we have the from the movie Flight of the Phoenix remake with Dennis Quaid, the actual aircraft that was flown as an RC model for distance shots. We have a 1929 fleet, one of two that are still flyable. We have it, we bought it in Florida, flew it out here, and then completely went through it, and we got it in its original colors of Hancock College, which is the blue and yellow. That is from the movie set Wins the Kitty Hawk. It was 3 built, and this is the only one that survived because they tried to fly 2 and crashed, so they decided to get some intelligence and use a crane. This is what we call the Hancock area. In this case here we have some memorabilia from some of the pilots that flew after they graduated from Hancock College. A lot of the pilots that grew out of the military training went to the European Theater and the Pacific Theater. One of the things that Hancock did beside teach aviation, he also helped fund the first trans-Pacific flight, and that was the Southern Cross. Southern Cross, he bought the aircraft in Oakland, brought it down here, had it rebuilt at the college, gave it to the 3 pilots to fly to Australia. This would be Hancock Field. This is as it was from 1929 to mid-50s, when they started making it into a regular city college and the aviation section went down. The models on top were just recently given to us, and to safeguard them from little children with fingers, we put them up on top for now until we get through with our World War II display on the other side. Hancock contributed a lot to World War II aviation. He not only trained pilots, but he also trained the support personnel for everybody to maintain the aircraft, including avionics and the mechanical portions of fabricating the wings and maintaining the engines and all the instruments. We got a lot of scale models, and it shows the different aircraft of aviation during that time period. We have people come through here, and some of these models they've never even heard of. Be honest with you, they're way before my time. But it's interesting that we have this available. When we do classroom tours, the kids ask a lot of questions about the models, and some of our older, more mature docents, they can give you the stories on the aircraft where I can't. If you look at the outside of this building, I had this building repainted in 2004 to its original Santa Maria Army Airfield colors. But we did not touch the logos you see up there because it's very unique and special. For the movie set, to make it look like the paint had been there for a few years, they mixed paint with cow manure. Now, so, who would have thought of using cow manure before? It has actually flown missions in Vietnam. The gentleman's name that you see in the front cockpit, Area Commander Ron Johnson, he's on our staff. He actually retired from the Navy as a captain. He flew this aircraft on stateside duty, but it was stationed on the Midway, and it did over 200 missions in Vietnam for ground support and also aerial bombing of targets in North Vietnam. And on the other side here we have an A4. The A4 is in the process of being restored to be what we call eye candy for appearances only, like this is. And this one also had 100 missions in Vietnam, and it was in Senator McCain's squadron. The Israelis have taken this configuration and have improved it over the years, and they still use it for ground support in the Middle East. It's an amazing aircraft. What we're trying to do is bring back the aircraft that was originally here in Santa Maria, is Santa Maria Army Airfield. And it's going to take time, it's going to take money, and the reason why is we want to preserve that part of the history. We already got part of the Hancock history, now we need to preserve the Santa Maria Army Airfield history. If you can imagine, this was our original first building. This here is a British nav, which you can see in the background. It's very unique. It was used not only as a training aircraft, but the British Red Arrows and the Snowbirds aerobatic teams were using this in their demonstrations at air shows. So we have a jet here. We also got a spare engine for it. And it's the only jet that is operational in this museum. And in the background is a 55% scale P-38 that was built and flown for 5 years. We inherited it when the guy decided he was no longer going to go ahead and fly this anymore. You were asking about the Capio. The Capio, he sat in this and that. This is the cockpit for this aircraft, which is the H-1. And this has actually a motor that we can install up in the belly to drive around the parking lot. And we also got the special effects explosive devices if we wanted to put up. We got the whole shooting match when we got this. Now we have something that's really unique that most museums, aviation museums you go to, you will not see a lot of, and that is stuff on women pilots and their contributions. We're very fortunate that we have the Santa Maria Valley 99s that are based here. They hold their meetings at our museum. One of the displays that we have, which you will not find a lot of, is the watch, which is the women's air service pilots for World War II that was ferrying the aircraft from stateside to the different theaters. We have been very fortunate that we have a gentleman that has had uniforms and mannequins. He did this display for us, and now we're working on another one. Mark Whedon, he is one of the greatest people to work with on this project. And now we're working on Amelia Earhart. We found a mannequin that we can make up to look like Amelia, and that will be that area back there. That will be the tribute to Amelia Earhart. One of the other aspects of the history of the Santa Maria Valley that we're doing right now, that we're very fortunate to have members of the Tuskegee Airmen locally. And we have a small display on the Tuskegee Airmen now, and we're working on a diorama of Tuskegee Airfield. And with the help of Art Hicks and several other members of the local Tuskegee squadron based in Vandenberg, we will be having a nice display here for people to understand that in spite of the prejudicials and everything else during World War II, these men climbed on those aircraft. They also supported ground operations, and they did a lot of things. This was an airplane made out of an old wine barrel, and it does have a prop that turns. And we have a simulated cockpit for a King Air that the kids can get in there and pretend they're flying. And then we have a wooden model here that has actual stick and rudder controls so the kids can see how the aircraft responds. Now, you've heard of the great bomb site that was in World War II, the Norden Bombsight. That was so top secret that they wouldn't use it on the raid to Tokyo. They used an actual stick and with slots in it like you would sight down on a rifle barrel. Well, this is the complete Norden Bombsight, and it has been donated by Mr. Pardini, and he used to rebuild these during World War II. And after the war, he built 3 of them out of parts laying out everywhere you could think of. One is with us, the other one is at Smithsonian, and the other one is at Wright. This is the AVG group, which is an American volunteer group that started the Flying Tigers with General Chennault. Later, when Americans got involved in Pacific Theater, it became 40th Air Force, which is Vandenberg Air Force Base. And we have the bloodshed on the back that goes on the leather jacket of the pilot, which identifies the pilot as an American volunteer. And the free Chinese that were not under control of Japanese would help the pilots get back to friendly forces. What we're trying to do is not only preserve the history of aviation in Santa Maria, in the valley itself, but we're also trying to bring our youth, the younger youth that has no direction yet, into an aviation environment to give them some kind of structure that they can use. I do a lot of career day lectures on myself and how I started my careers and how I ended up in this museum.